There is an argument being made in Western academia right now that Islam was originally just another failed apocalyptic movement. That the Prophet ﷺ and his companions expected the world to end in their own lifetimes, and when it didn't, the religion had to be fundamentally reinvented. This argument is not new, but it has been given a fresh academic coat of paint by modern Orientalists, and it might sound sophisticated to some, that is until you open a Hadith collection. Because the Prophet ﷺ left behind explicit authenticated narrations that completely demolish this argument. By the end of this video, you will have the tools to dismantle this argument whenever you encounter it.
Let's be specific about who is actually pushing this. Two of the most prominent names in contemporary Islamic origins scholarship are Stephen Shoemaker, Professor of Religious Studies at the University of Oregon, and Fred Donner, Professor of Near Eastern History at the University of Chicago. Shoemaker argues in his books The Death of a Prophet (Wasallam 2011) and The Apocalypse of Empire 2018 that earliest Islam was, in his own words, a movement driven by urgent eschatological belief, meaning the Prophet ﷺ and his followers were expecting the imminent end of the world. Donner makes a very similar argument in his book Muhammad ﷺ and the Believers 2010, claiming that apocalyptic urgency was not a peripheral feature of early Islam but its core motivating energy. These are not fringe voices, these are Ivy League and Russell Group level academics whose work is widely cited. Here is something your average Muslim does not know. This entire framework was not developed for Islam. It was developed for Christianity. For over a century, New Testament scholars have debated what is called the problem of the delayed parousia, meaning early Christians expected Jesus to return within their lifetimes. He didn't. And so the church had to adapt and reinterpret. Albert Schweitzer made this argument famous in the early 1900s regarding Christianity. What Shoemaker, Donner and others have done is take that exact same scholarly framework built for Christian origins and copy-paste it onto Islam. They are not discovering something new about Islam, they are borrowing a failed Christian theological problem and projecting it onto a completely different religion, completely different sources. This lazy move should be called out for exactly what it is. Let's look at what the actual Hadith literature says, because this is where the argument collapses entirely. The Prophet ﷺ said, "The best people are those of my generation, then those who will come after them, then those who will come after them." This Hadith is in both Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. It does not get more authentic than this. Think about what this narration implies. The Prophet ﷺ is ranking 3 distinct generations after his own time. If the world was about to end within his companions' lifetimes, why would he be discussing the relative merit of the second and third generations after them? A plain literal reading of this hadith alone is enough to bury this argument. If you want a much deeper dive into the historical reliability of hadith, specifically why we can trust them, I've written a book specifically on this subject. It is called Sunni Hadith and Sirah, Proofs of Historical Reliability. The details are in the description. Now back to the argument. The second hadith is even more specific. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Verily Allah will raise up in this nation at the beginning of every century someone who will renew their religion." This is in Sunan Abi Dawud, authenticated as Sahih. Now think about what this narration is explicitly telling us. Allah will send a mujaddid, a reviver, every 100 years, not once, not twice, every century. The Prophet ﷺ is describing a recurring divine institution built into the fabric of Islamic history. Multiple mujaddids means multiple centuries. Multiple centuries mean Islam was never expected to end within a generation. Orientalist thesis does not just struggle against this hadith, it is demolished by it. This brings us to a deeper issue, and this is something worth understanding clearly. The Orientalist approach to Islamic origins has a consistent pattern. It systematically dismisses the Hadith corpus as unreliable for historical reconstruction and then turns around, uses late non-Islamic sources, Syria Christian chronicles, Byzantine records to build its case. In other words, Islamic sources are treated as guilty until proven innocent, while external sources are treated as neutral and objective. This is not scholarship, this is a methodological double standard, and when these scholars do engage with Islamic texts, they select the narrations that fit with their thesis and ignore the ones that don't, like the 2 hadiths we just covered, which are in the most rigorously authenticated collections in existence. The argument that Islam was a failed apocalyptic movement is not a discovery, It is a borrowed framework from Christian scholarship applied to Islam by academics who have already decided what the answer is. The Hadiths of the three generations and the Hadiths of the Mujaddid, both in major collections, are alone sufficient to show that Prophet ﷺ was describing a religion built to last centuries. No amount of academic pretensions changes what is written clearly in Sahih Bukhari and Sunan Abi Dawud. Share this video so this information reaches more Muslims and stay with this channel because there is a lot more where this came from.